It's here. 616 Portal. No one is talking about. But be aware, this number isn't just following you, it's trying to save you. If you've been seeing 616 everywhere, on clocks, receipts, license plates, dreams, it's not a glitch in your day. It's not a coincidence. It's a cosmic intervention, a silent alarm from the universe. Because this number is not a message, it's a mirror, and it only shows up when something deep inside you is ready to break or rebirth. This isn't just numerology, it's alignment. This is not about superstition, it's about sequence. Venus, Sunday, Venus, a cycle you've been unconsciously living out for years, maybe lifetimes. And when 616 appears in your field, it means one thing. You've reached the point in your story where love, identity, and pain must face each other at last. If 111 is the beginning and 555 is the breakdown, 616 is the reckoning. This number shows up when you've loved too much, too blindly, too far away from your center. It appears when the universe is ready to show you the part of yourself that you gave away without realizing it. Most people miss the message. They think it's just an angel number. They smile and move on. But if you're here, if you were drawn to this exact moment, then you're not most people. The number followed you here for a reason, because you're not just seeing 616, you're living it. And before we go any further, if even a small part of you feels like this message is circling something you haven't been able to name yet, like this video, subscribe to the channel and drop the number 77 in the comments. That's not for engagement. That's for energetic agreement. That's how you show the universe you're not ignoring the call this time. That you're ready to receive what this sequence has been trying to give you. That you're willing to finally let go of what this number came to burn away. Sharing this, reacting to this, even silently marking it, is part of the ritual. Because once you hear the rest, you'll understand. This wasn't a video. This was a recovery mission. Now let's begin. 616 is a sequence of planetary power. The number 6 is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, emotional attachment, and karmic lessons. The number 1 is ruled by the sun, the self, the ego, the light of truth. When you see 616, you're seeing a cosmic alignment. Venus, then sun, then Venus again. In energetic language, that's the story of giving your heart, losing yourself, and finding love again. But this time, with yourself at the center. Think about it. When was the last time you saw 616? Was it during a breakup, after a betrayal, right before you chose yourself for the first time in years? That's not a coincidence, that's design. 616 shows up during emotional turning points because it's not just a symbol, it's a timeline marker. It announces when you're crossing the threshold between emotional collapse and spiritual reconstruction. And here's what most people get wrong about it. They think the first Venus, the first 6, is sweet, romantic, wholesome, but that first Venus is blind. It's the version of you that loved too hard, gave too much, ignored the red flags, lost your own voice in the name of connection. It's the sacrificial part of you that believed love meant shrinking, that if you gave enough, they would stay, that if you hurt enough, it must be real. Then comes the one, the sun, the breaking point, the identity crisis, the burn, the moment you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize who you were anymore. Maybe they left. Maybe they betrayed you. Maybe you just woke up one day and realized you were orbiting their world and no longer living in your own. But here's where it gets important, because after the one comes the second 6, Venus again, but not the same Venus. This second Venus is not about craving love. It's about becoming it, not about needing validation, but creating wholeness. It's not romance, it's remembrance. 616 is the spiritual blueprint of returning to yourself after emotional annihilation. It's what Venus goes through during her retrograde cycles, falling into darkness, disappearing from the sky, and then re-emerging, stronger, brighter, unapologetically sovereign. And right now, you're going through that same arc. So if you're seeing 616, the universe isn't just trying to tell you something, it's trying to wake you up from something. Maybe you've been hearing that voice in your head saying, they were the one. Maybe you're haunted by the question, what if I never find someone like them again? But 616 is here to burn that illusion. Because the truth is, they weren't your mirror. They were your trigger. The mirror comes after they leave. When you finally stand in silence and see yourself clearly, not through the lens of heartbreak, but through the light of recovery. And this number, this code, this pulse in the background of your awareness, it's the signal that your reflection is waiting to be reclaimed. That what you lost wasn't love, it was permission to forget yourself. And now the spell is breaking. There's still more, because at the end of this video, I'll show you what this number secretly activated in your body, something most people never notice, something you've already started doing without realizing it. And once you become aware of it, everything about this moment will begin to shift. So stay with me, like, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments if this already feels like it's unlocking something ancient inside you. What comes next might be subtle, but it's not small. In fact, it may be the missing piece you've needed to finally understand why the heartbreak had to happen and who it's been leading you back to all along. Number 1, the Venus burn, when love breaks you to rebuild you. So now that you've heard the call, now that you know 616 didn't just appear, it arrived, it's time to decode the first number in this sequence, 6. The number of Venus, the number of love. But not just the soft kind, the kind that scorches you before it saves you. When most people think of Venus, they picture romance, beauty, affection, maybe even soulmates. But Venus is not a harmless goddess floating in rose petals. She's a mirror, a burning, sacred, relentless mirror. And she will not blink when she reflects back the truth you've spent your whole life avoiding. In numerology and astrology, 6 is the vibration of connection, devotion, beauty, but also karmic entanglement. This is the number that asks, what are you willing to give for love? And more importantly, how much of yourself are you willing to lose just to be held? The first 6 in 616 is about what you gave, the effort, the silence, the forgiveness you handed out, even when it was never asked for. It's the version of you who said, maybe if I just love them harder, they'll finally see me. It's the long texts, the swallowed words, the second, third, and 10th chances. It's love, yes, but the kind of love that slowly dissolves your identity until you forget what you looked like without their approval. And maybe you're asking yourself now, was that love real? If I felt it so deeply, how could it have hurt me so badly? The answer is layered, because what you felt was real, but not everything that feels real is reciprocal. Love, at its highest, flows in both directions. But this first Venus, the first 6, is about when you poured and poured into a cup that had a crack at the bottom. No matter how full you tried to make it, it was never enough. And the most dangerous thing, you started to believe that you were the empty one. This is the karmic burn of Venus. She doesn't destroy you because you were wrong. She exposes the wound you've been carrying from long before this relationship even began. That feeling of unworthiness, that fear that if someone leaves, it means you were never lovable to begin with. Venus, in this stage, isn't soft. She's the Venus that appears in myths, not as the lover, but as the judge. She weighs what you've given against what you've received, and if the scale is tipped for too long, she pulls the connection apart. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Think of it like a sacred fire. At first, it's warmth, then it's too much, then it scorches. But what remains afterward? Gold, refined, purified, uncorrupted gold. That's what this part of the 616 sequence is trying to do. Burn the illusion. Strip away the false version of love you were surviving on, and leave only what's real. You might be thinking, but I gave them everything. Why did they still walk away? Because the universe isn't transactional, it's transformational. What you gave wasn't wasted. It just wasn't meant to be returned by them. It was meant to be rediscovered by you. You gave love, yes, but now you must learn to receive it back from within. This chapter of 616 is the fall, the collapse, the heartbreak. But it's also the moment the soul begins to whisper, you're not meant to disappear inside anyone. Because the Venus burn isn't just pain, it's preparation for the sun, for what comes next, for the identity that's been buried under all that effort. And when that part rises, you'll understand why this had to fall apart exactly the way it did. So if you're still hurting, good. That means the fire's still working. Let it burn, let it reveal, because the next time you love, it won't be a sacrifice. It will be a reflection of your wholeness, not your desperation. And that, too, is Venus. Not the ache, but the art that's born after it. Number 2, the sun between two loves, the identity crisis. Now that we've walked through the fire of that first Venus, the giving, the aching, the emotional unraveling, we reach the center of the sequence, the one, the sun. This is where everything changes. In 616, the number 1 doesn't sit quietly between two loves. It burns, it exposes, it forces the confrontation you've been avoiding. It's the moment you stop saying, I gave them everything, and start asking, but what was left of me? Because the sun in numerology and astrology is not just ego, it's identity. It's the core of who you are before the world taught you how to hide. And when it sits between two Venus energies, it plays a very specific role. It disrupts the illusion that love is something you must earn, prove, or chase. It's the moment where you go from giver to ghost. Not because you died, but because you disappeared in the gravity of someone else's universe. You might be wondering, how could love cause me to lose myself? Wasn't I just being devoted? Isn't that what real love looks like? But here's the hard truth. Devotion without self is not love. It's erasure. And the sun doesn't tolerate erasure. It doesn't shrink. It doesn't orbit. The sun radiates with or without permission. So when the sun appears in this sequence, it's not just showing you pain, it's showing you the cost of forgetting who you are. This is the identity crisis. This is the moment you wake up in a version of yourself that feels hollow, echoing with old memories and emotional bruises. You might look fine on the outside. You might even be healing, but inside, something still feels missing. That's because it is. That missing piece? It's you. And this is where most people miss the point. They think the sun is punishment, that the pain was proof of their unworthiness. But the sun didn't arrive to break you. It arrived to mark you, to draw a line between who you were before the illusion and who you are about to become. Think of the sun like a flare in the dark. When everything collapses, the sun ignites. Not to show you what's around you, but to remind you of your own light. This is the part of the sequence where your center starts pulling itself back together, slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably. Maybe you start saying no without apologizing. Maybe you stop checking their page. Maybe you cry, but this time it feels like release, not regret. That's the sun's work. It's not warm and gentle. It's blinding at first, like stepping out of a cave into daylight. It hurts your eyes, but it also shows you everything you couldn't see before. The cracks, the lies, the parts of yourself you tucked away so someone else could shine. But not anymore. Because the sun in this sequence doesn't just separate the old love from the new. It initiates the rebirth of your wholeness. And the light it brings, it's going to reveal something else very soon. Something subtle, something physical, something you've already started doing without realizing it. And when you see what it is, you'll know the fire wasn't just to burn, it was to bring you home. Number 3, the return of Venus, but not as the same lover. Now that the sun has scorched through the illusion, now that the core of who you are has been exposed in its rawest form, Venus returns. But this isn't the same Venus you met in the beginning. This isn't the soft version of love that gives endlessly and asks for nothing. This is the resurrected form, the Venus that's been burned, betrayed, awakened, and reborn. In 616, this second 6 isn't about love given outward. It's about love turned inward. The return of Venus after the sun isn't a reunion with someone else. It's a reunion with yourself. And here's the key. The love you're about to experience is not romantic nostalgia. It's not the "if only they came back" version. It's cleaner, deeper, braver. Because once you've stood in the fire of the sun, you don't just go back to who you were. That version of you, the one that clung, that overgave, that shrank to be chosen, is gone. Not erased, but evolved. And so is your definition of love. You might be asking, but if I healed, why do I still think about them? Why do I still miss them? The truth is, you're not missing them. You're missing the version of you who believed that love meant sacrifice. The ache isn't for the person, it's for the fantasy. And Venus, in her second form, doesn't feed fantasy. She calls it out. She holds you accountable for every time you abandoned yourself in the name of connection. That's why this new Venus is detached, not distant. She feels everything, but she's not ruled by it. She doesn't chase. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't orbit. She radiates. The same way the moon reflects the sun, this Venus reflects back everything the identity crisis revealed. She is the mirror of wholeness, the one who says, I don't need them to come back. I came back to myself. Here's a practice, a ritual that can anchor this shift. Write a letter from your first Venus to your second. Let the giver speak to the healer. Let the soft, sacrificing version of you tell the stronger one what she feared, what she lost, what she hoped for. And then let the second Venus, the self-honoring, self-reclaimed one, answer. Tell her what changed, what's no longer acceptable, what boundaries are now sacred. What love now feels like when it starts from within, not from lack. This letter is more than words. It's a closure between timelines, a final goodbye to the version of you who thought pain was proof of love. Because in this phase of 616, love doesn't look like longing. It looks like embodiment. You don't beg for it, you become it. And when Venus returns in this form, you'll notice that the people, patterns and places that once held power over you no longer do. The spell is broken, but the magic? Just beginning. Because the love you used to give away freely is now returning to its rightful owner, you. Number 4. Why you kept seeing them everywhere, even after they left. Now that Venus has returned, no longer in pieces but in power, you may find something strange still lingering in your world, even after the closure, even after the growth, even after you've told yourself it's over. They still show up. You see their name in places it shouldn't be, their birthday on license plates, that one song, your song, playing in the background at random cafes. You dream about them without reason. You feel their energy when you're just about to forget. And you start asking yourself, why? If I'm healing, why are they still here? This is not regression. This is the psychological haunt phase, and 616 tells you exactly what's happening. You're not broken. You're not secretly still obsessed. What you're experiencing is an energetic imprint trying to leave your field. Think of it like a perfume someone wore for years. Even after they're gone, it lingers in the fabric. That's what memory does. That's what emotional attachment does. It leaves echoes in your auric field, and those echoes don't leave silently. They flare up one last time through dreams, symbols, synchronicities before the final purge, not to trap you, but to give you a choice. Will you reach for them again, or let the echo pass through? 616 at this stage acts like a detox. You've cleared the body, but now the mind must be reclaimed, and that's harder. Because the body hurts and heals, but the mind replays, it loops, it tempts. That's why this phase is so confusing. You might be doing everything right, and yet suddenly you're overwhelmed with thoughts of them. That's not relapse, that's residue. You're not being haunted. You're being called to finish the ritual. Here's a metaphor. Imagine burning old love letters. The fire ends quickly, but the smoke lingers. That smoke is the memories, the attachments, the energetic tethers trying to find their way out of your space. If you inhale the smoke, if you reattach to the memory, you invite it back in. But if you let it drift, let it sting your eyes, but don't chase it, you're clearing the air. Finally. Some people ask, but what if they're thinking of me? What if this is a sign we're meant to reconnect? And the answer is, maybe they are, but their thoughts aren't your responsibility. Your energy is. 616 doesn't appear to restart the story. It appears to help you end it with awareness. You're not required to engage every vibration that taps your aura. Some are meant to be acknowledged, thanked, and released. And here's something you might not have noticed. During this time, when their presence lingers, you've likely been doing strange things with your hands, fidgeting, touching your heart, rearranging your room, picking up pens, drawing spirals, tapping surfaces. These aren't nervous habits, they're rituals. Your body is already trying to complete the loop. It's creating motion to push the lingering energy out of your field. And soon, when we go deeper, you'll understand why these small movements are the final sacred response to the haunting. Because this isn't just about forgetting them, it's about freeing you. Number 5, the shadow of 616, mistaking love for attachment. Now that you've seen the signs, felt the echoes, and started clearing the residue, they still linger, not just as a memory, but as a meaning. And this is where 616 digs even deeper. Because before you can truly move forward, you have to confront the shadow, not of them, of you. This is the part most people avoid. The uncomfortable truth that 616 doesn't just arrive to comfort you, it arrives to challenge your perception of love itself. And here's where the lie gets exposed. What you thought was love may have been attachment in disguise. That's the shadow, and 616 shows up not to punish you, but to pull the mask off what your heart was clinging to. You weren't in love with their soul. You were in survival mode. You were trying to make something feel safe, because your nervous system believed that losing them meant losing oxygen. You mistook emotional chaos for passion. You called inconsistency intensity, and the bond you swore was unbreakable. It was actually a trauma loop, a repeating echo of the same wound dressed in different names. Now, maybe you're asking, but how can something that felt so real be wrong? The answer is, it wasn't all wrong, but it wasn't all love either. Some connections are sent not to grow roots, but to expose rot. 616 arrives when your soul is ready to admit that you didn't just fall in love. You fell into a pattern, one you've played out before, one your heart is finally ready to end. Here's the real lie that gets shattered in this stage. If it hurts this much, it must mean they were my person. No, pain is not proof of destiny. Pain is proof of attachment without alignment. And attachment can feel addictive. It feels urgent, necessary, familiar, but it doesn't nurture you. It feeds on you. That's why 616 hurts. Because it asks you to look at love not through the lens of emotion, but through the lens of truth. And the truth is, you weren't trying to love them. You were trying to hold something together that your soul already walked away from. Here's your lie break. They were your lesson, not your home. The universe sent them to reveal the exact spot where you needed healing, to touch the wound, to stretch the scar, not to stay, not to be your forever, but to be your mirror, until you finally chose to look into it alone. And when you do, something begins to crack, not in grief, but in freedom. You realize you don't need them to finish the story, because the story was never about them, it was about you. 616 shows up when the spell of confusion is ready to break. It's the moment your soul says, enough. Enough sacrifice, enough suffering in the name of love, enough performing. It's time to define love from the inside out. And never again lose yourself for someone who only came to show you what losing yourself looks like. This is the shadow, but it's also the light behind it. And once you see it, you never go back. Number 6. Venus retrogrades and the 8-year mirror. Now that you've faced the shadow, now that the illusion of love as survival has started to crumble, 616 opens another door. One that doesn't just explain the pain, but reveals the pattern. Because Venus doesn't just rule love in the emotional sense, she rules time, cyclical time, patterned time, the kind that doesn't tick forward in a straight line, but loops in sacred geometry. And over every 8 years, Venus retraces her steps in the sky, forming a near-perfect pentagram with her retrograde movements, a 5-pointed star written in orbit. Why does this matter? Because if you've been seeing 616 now, you likely saw it before, not just on your phone screen, but in your life, your relationships, your heartbreaks, your choices, 8 years ago. Maybe not with the same person, but with the same wound. Maybe not with the same outcome, but the same trigger, the same collapse, the same ache that whispered, "Here we are again." Venus retrogrades are not just celestial backspins, they're emotional audits. They resurface unresolved energy, repeat dynamics, and retest boundaries you swore you'd never cross again. And every 8 years, they draw a perfect mirror, reflecting who you were, who you became, and who you keep defaulting back to when you feel unloved. You might be wondering, why does this always happen to me? Why do I keep attracting the same kind of love, the same kind of loss, the same emotional ending wrapped in different people? But that's not punishment. That's the Venus mirror. It's not a reflection of failure. It's a reflection of what still needs to evolve. Here's the challenge. Pause right now and think back. What was happening in your love life 8 years ago? Who were you giving too much to? Who were you trying to prove yourself to? What did your heart learn the hard way back then, that maybe you're still repeating now? If you're brave enough to trace the timeline, you'll notice something almost haunting. The same emotional themes, wrapped in different skins. And that's why Venus returns in the sequence of 616. Not to punish you for repeating, but to wake you up from the loop. Because every point on the Venus pentagram isn't just a stop in the sky, it's a choice point in your soul's evolution. You're not being asked to be perfect. You're being asked to be conscious, to stop defaulting into love like it's your job to suffer, to see the pattern not as fate, but as your moment to finally rewrite the script. You are not doomed to repeat what hurt you, but you are being invited to recognize the geometry of your own heart's history. And 616 isn't just pointing at it, it's circling it in red ink. So here it is, the part you felt all along but couldn't name. Your hands have been remembering the version of you that existed before the collapse. Every time you wrote, touched, created, or rearranged something during this 616 phase, it wasn't random. It was a ritual, a sacred reassembly. You're not broken, you're returning, and your hands are guiding the way back to the one who never needed to be chosen to feel whole. If this message stirred something in you, like subscribe and comment 77 below to mark this moment of remembrance. You were never lost. You were just on your way back.